Well, you just saw it on Power and Politics. Lots of drama in Ottawa. The Liberal government, though, has narrowly survived its third confidence vote. The Prime Minister, Mark Carney's first federal budget has passed.
Yeas pour 170, 170. Nays contre 168, 163.
So there will not be a snap election, and Carney gets the green light to move forward with his spending plan, a plan which includes new investments aimed to ease the cost of living for Canadians, along with cuts to the public service workforce. All right, David Cochrane's been a very busy journalist over the last 2.5 hours. The host of CBC's Power and Politics joins us again. And David, lots of drama. We saw it unfold on your program. You haven't had a lot of chance to reflect on what you reported on, but what stands out to you with this vote?
I think what really stands out to me, Ian, is how emphatically clear it is that none of the parties other than the Bloc Québécois wanted an election, and they were all prepared to take steps to make sure that there would not be an election here. You had a couple of the Conservative MPs not vote until the very end of voting, claiming they were trying to use the remote app and that it failed, which was an interesting move considering that it was the Conservative House Leader and the caucus chair who were both present in Parliament physically. So there was no reason they would be using the app except to wait until the last minute to see where the votes are and take steps to avoid accidentally bringing down the government. And of course, the New Democrats, who ended up with a split decision from the caucus, that the leader and 4 other of his MPs voting against the budget, but Laurie Idlout and Gord Johns abstaining. Laurie Idlout doing that remotely on the app, even though she was also in Ottawa, but Gord Johns showing up in his seat and staying in his seat. So there's a visual signal there that the Liberals had enough votes to get the budget through. Also on the Conservative side, there were 2 abstentions I want to note. Shannon Stubbs, who is a true Team Poilievre, a member of Parliament, not voting with a medical absence and an approved medical absence to not vote there. But Matt Genereux, Ian, who recently announced that he is soon resigning from politics, will not be seeking re-election, will be quitting his seat at some point in the spring. He is not technically resigned, maybe he is mentally resigned, and will not be participating in these key moments as he has no skin in the game, as he has decided that his political career has come to an end. So either way, the vote in favor from Elizabeth May, which we learned about very early in the day, the abstentions from the Conservative ranks and from the NDP ranks, enough to get this budget over the line. And there have been confidence votes so far for this government. This is the first real one that we had some uncertainty about. This one, the Carney government survives and moves ahead on. So no November, December campaign with the January election. So Ian, you don't need to learn how to do the map because this means I don't have to quit.
Yeah, I got to tell you, one of the things I found surprising watching the vote from afar is that, and you live in this world all the time, so presumably it wasn't a surprise to you, but how it just wasn't clear to anyone, including you and Rosemary, for a while, what exactly the vote was. I would have thought these days you just, press a button or put up your hand and the counts are instant and have complete clarity, but there was some real uncertainty there for a while.
Yeah, you see that with votes in the U.S. Congress, right, where there's a running tally of yeas and nays by party because everything is done by pressing a budget and electronic recording. The Westminster tradition, it is stand on your feet and be counted. The hybrid vote only exists really as a consequence of COVID, where you couldn't cram everybody into a room to keep running a democratically elected government, so you needed to find a way to do it safely around everything. But there have been problems with those votes. There have been bugs technically, so there needs to be a process where you can come out at the end and say, I couldn't vote, or my vote was improperly recorded, or I pressed yes when I meant to vote no. We saw a bit of that with Leah Gazan, the NDP MP for Winnipeg Centre, who clearly voted no, recorded her vote, and wanted to come on so she had the opportunity to try to make a speech, which the Parliament jeered about and the Speaker eventually shut down. But, it has also created an opportunity for people to play games, which I think is a little bit what Laurie Idlout did and what Scott Reid and Andrew Scheer did. Because Laurie Idlout, her vote initially was recorded as no, later changed to an abstention. And she was here in Ottawa, so why was she using the app when Parliament is just right there? And she scrummed like 10 feet that way after the vote was over. And this was the same thing with Andrew Scheer and Scott Reid. It's not unusual that Conservative MPs in Ottawa might use the vote use the app to vote remotely, but when you're the House leader, the person who runs the Conservative agenda in the House of Commons on a confidence vote on the budget, you're going to be there in person. Instead, he wasn't, and neither was the caucus chair, and that allowed them to stand up at the end and say, we wanted to vote no, we couldn't do it on the app, but here we are to vote no, when they knew it would be recorded, but it would not be decisive. So it's pretty clear. Nobody wanted an election except maybe the Bloc Québécois. They were true to their word. They voted every single MP to bring down the government and kill this budget.
One last thing, we have less than a minute, but if any party got a lot of time in the spotlight after that vote, it was the NDP and their interim leader. And I don't know, was that because maybe they needed to do the most explaining to their constituents?
Well, they were the ones who had the courage to come out and explain themselves after the vote, so they at least did that. But you have to remember, one of the motivating factors for them in voting no, at least to a point, was they're kind of tired of being seen as the party that props up the Liberal government. They had the supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals when Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau cut that deal. Not only do they feel like they didn't get credit for that, they feel they got punished for that. And they are determined as much as they can not to live through the life of another minority parliament as the crutch for the Liberal government. That's a whole lot easier with a set of policies that Mark Carney puts in a budget versus what Justin Trudeau would put in a budget. But, you know, as I was pointing out, there were other people who helped this get through, including the Green leader and perhaps a couple of Conservatives who were willing to let it happen, if not for the clear signaling from the NDP that it was all over except the actual counting, and this government would live to survive another day.
Well, 2 weeks ago, you said on this program steadfastly you would not cover another election if one were to happen between now and Christmas. I'm glad we did not have to test your resolve, David.
All right. Yeah, you know, me too. I still got a mortgage and a couple of kids, so yeah.
David Cochrane, host of CBC's Power and Politics. Thank you.